Right then, welcome back to the channel, and you know what, I've been dreading this, and I'm sure you guys are dreading this one as well. Ten Hag is in a bullish mood. When he started previewing this game with the media, he claims his players would be adequately prepared for the match. He also seemed to take inspiration from what he thinks were good performances against Liverpool and City in the past, and he thinks they're in good form. I'd love to agree with him, but I don't. And he potentially could look quite foolish if this is a slapping. And this could be a slapping, I'll be honest with you. Now, here's what he said. He said, our form, we're on a good run. Spirit's very good. We've done it before against City, also against Liverpool. We'll prepare well. And the players are looking forward to it. I can smell it. I'm excited. City have won 18 of their last 22 home Premier League games, and they've drawn 4. They're also unbeaten in their last 16 games in total. United have lost just once since the turn of the year, and we have won 6 of our last 7 games across all competitions. However, you'd be hard-pressed to find a good performance in any of that lot. Now, if you look at City, quite often see Pep tweaking what he's doing. So from one preview to the next, there's generally something new that he's added into City's game. He is a bit of a tinkerer. He looks to try and constantly evolve. When he thinks everyone's nailed down what he's doing, he will endeavour to kind of change that. But there's truths about how he plays that will be quite universal and will always be there. At the moment, they set up in a 3-2-4-1 sort of formation. So rather than keeping 2 centre-halves at the back to free up wing-backs and move forward into the final third, only Ruben Dias really holds his central position at the back, with Ake and Akanji or Vardiol playing almost like traditional kind of fullbacks. In practice, the team will defend with 4 defenders, but when the team is in possession, Diaz one-on-one with the opposition forward, which does... If we had Howson in this game, I think that would be a very real opportunity for United. And actually, Marcus going up against him is a very real opportunity. But the fact is, Marcus is more dangerous coming off the left. As Diaz remains sort of central to protect that area of the pitch, Rodri will hold position in front of him and the what is a wide back three, really. Stones will go close to connect with him. However, Akanji has often been used in the Stones role due to what seems to be a bit of a lack of fitness from Stones. And Akanji doesn't do the Stones role to the same level. So if it's Akanji in that Stones role, it does give us a little bit of a chance. Then to the left of Rodri, you're looking at Silva, Alvarez occupying that sort of left half space with KDB in the right half space. Howland up front, he is a pressing forward who occupies opposing centre-halves, and they're reluctant to step up in fear for his speed. You know, that is a problem for us, no doubt, and he's good at creating space in between the lines because of that, because he will force that defence back. So when you look at some of the issues United have had in recent weeks where we've had that bit of a gap in midfield, City are going to put 4 men in there. Now, that might actually work in our favour a little bit. So rather than having 3 forwards just galloping forward, City are going to have like 4 midfielders and a forward in there. That might force us back a little bit, and that might make us just be more compact as a matter of course, because we're actually picking up men directly rather than trying to press spaces. City have so few men behind the ball. All of their options are in front of the ball. That might put United actually behind the ball, and weirdly you might see United be a lot more compact just because we're playing City than Fulham, for example. The position of those 3 in midfield anyway is very similar to our team operates in a 4-3-3 with 1 runner, 1 playmaker and 1 more sort of holding defensive minded midfielder. When the team is in possession, John Stones and Rodri operate in the middle of the pitch by staying real close together in that structure. Rodri remains largely in the centre of the pitch, but he does also move into the left sort of half space a little bit, while Stones is responsible for maybe moving over to sort of the right kind of half space. Position of the double pivot, it gives City the chance to create a defensive block that's quite hard to penetrate through the middle, as well as creating numerical superiority in the centre of the park when they have the ball. That's pretty much been the most identifiable thing that Pep has got in terms of his style of play and his philosophy. It is overload. Where can I overload? And typically, the midfield is where he will look to overload. If you put 5 in there, he will put 6 in there and go without a forward. that's how he plays. But the rotation of Rodri and Stones make the team really fluid, and it gives them a bit of another dimension, both in and out of possession. Stones, if he plays, will be very key to how City kind of retain possession and control in the build-up. You'll see him advancing the ball, you'll see him switching play, you'll see him moving the ball forward, breaking lines and putting the ball into the final third. And he'll be finding players that have got the skill, opening up players that are in a defensive block. If it's Foden, Alvarez, Bernardo Silva, KDB, they're going and playing direct, fizzed-in balls to players that are really going to hurt you. When the opposition get possession, the team does have to start transforming in the defensive phase, and you can see how well drilled they are, because John Stones will move back into defence. He'll help form more of a traditional kind of back four, and that's something that we've seen over and over and over and over again. The team will start defending then in what looks like a 4-1-4-1. If you ever force them back, it's difficult to do. Not many teams can do it, but it will look like a 4-1-4-1 or a 4-4-2. When they're in possession, it looks like a 3-2-5 pretty much. In the final third, the wingers will stay high and wide. It's a proper chalk on the boots kind of winger positioning. And the winger positioning is just aiming to create space. You've got two options. Do you stay narrow and compact, which is what a lot of the defensive structures will sort of tell you? You want your entire back four within the width of the box, and actually maybe even a little bit tighter than that. Well, when you've got wingers that will go and occupy the touch lines, you have to then make a decision. Do I leave him and stay compact? Or do I get touch tight and create a gap? And that's what Pep's kind of playing on. He's playing on the fact that you probably are going to want to get to his wingers touch tight. And that opens up like a 15-metre space in between the fullback and the centre half. And that is the weakness. That line is the weakness that he's looking to exploit. And he exploits it usually by those advanced midfielders in the half space penetrating into the box. He gives you two options. If you don't come out wide, the winger gets the head of steam. And if you do come out wide to them, you've got the underlapping, let's say it's on the right-hand side, you've got KDB just steaming into that half space. You'll come over and try and cover and press him. He'll put a ball in and he'll find someone towards the back stick, and especially if it's Haaland. It's tried, it's tested, it's drilled, and it's effective. There's no two ways around it. Even the introduction of Doku, like you now have someone that if he's 1v1 versus your fullback, you got problems. And if you try to double up on someone like a Doku, who's going to more likely to run you than to try and link play, if you try and go 2v1 on him, you're going to leave somebody else isolated. There's going to be an off-the-ball runner, either overlapping or underlapping, or you're going to push men across and they're going to leave extra men in the centre or at the back stick. And again, it's back to that whole thing of overloads with Pep Guardiola. If he can make you put two players in a certain area to deal with this thing, then in his head, he's freed up an extra man and he'll use that to rotate possession around you. It is good. It is good. It's basically what Cruyff would have done, given patience and the right kind of club to allow him to do it. It's good. With Haaland staying as the sort of central focal point and being an absolute goal machine, he's ready to pounce. He gives you a bit of a... He gives you a threat that Pep previously never had. He always went with very mobile, agile forwards that could find space, create space, and finish off chances. With Haaland, he gives you extra dimensions that you just didn't have. And that's what makes him effective. I mean, he's an effective striker anyway. And it's probably why I would call him the star man. But in this City system, he's an absolute nightmare. 27 goals in 30 games. He's just had a 5-goal game against Luton. He's a bit of a cyborg. He's lightning quick. He's powerful. He's strong. He is just absolutely dedicated. He is a machine that works at his craft. He's sharp, in behind, in the box, left foot, right foot, head. He just finds a way of scoring goals, and you put that in tandem with Kevin De Bruyne and you're in for a long day. You are in for a long day. In terms of the United 11, I mean, it don't look good. I'm going to try and do something a little bit different. Because I think you need to pack the midfield. and packing the midfield and getting men behind the ball with assets that can then go and hurt. I think it'll be Amrabat and Delo. I have no idea who else is even potentially fit in the defence. But we go Amrabat and Delo, especially with the control that we sort of saw in the second half against Forest. I think a little bit more of that wouldn't be a bad thing. Amrabat and Delo, and I presume it's Varane and Lindelof. Johnny Evans might be a good shout in there, especially as I expect us to defend the box rather than having to defend the space behind us. I think this is very much a counter-attacking performance. Johnny Evans would be a real good shout in there, I think. I think he's had excellent games when he's played. Simple as that. Midfield. This is where I'm going to try and get a little bit creative with it. I'm going to go with a midfield three. So not a 4-2-3-1, a traditional midfield three, with Mainu at the base and then two genuine eights. And the genuine eights are Casemiro and McTominay. And you're going, what about Bruno? Well, I think Bruno's not fully fit, but also, and that's why I'm going to give you an either or here, I'm going to move him to the right. 1, work rate. 2, I want all three of those players in midfield. Scott McTominay is a goal threat. He's not a striker. People need to stop saying that he's a striker because he's not a striker. He's a midfielder who's able to get forward and has good running. He's not a striker, though. If you played him as a lone striker, he would be a very easy day for any centre-half. When he's played alongside a striker, he's the extra one coming into the box. The striker might have taken away the main threat in terms of defence, which means he ends up with more space. If you play him as the main striker, he'll get shut down with a quickness and he'd be very ineffective. So I don't play him in the striker role, I play him in midfield. And alongside Casemiro and Mainu, and we're going to look for Casemiro and Mainu and McTominay to just get the ball into that forward three. And the forward three, this is the either or on the right-hand side. Bruno played off the right, which he has done effectively, so we can get them three in midfield. And with Amrabat, you've also got like an extra rotational pair of midfield because he will invert. Bruno, and you're asking him for final balls only. You're not asking him to build up play. You're asking him to find a killer ball. So you win possession, you spray it out to the right-hand side. He then whips one back in, switch a play to the opposite side of the pitch or the centre of the pitch. Marcus down the middle and Garnacho on the left. I think that balances, as best as I can at least anyway, it balances having an offensive threat and being defensively compact. Because I think if you have Bruno, you're essentially trying to play 4-4-2 if he plays centrally. You play him on the right-hand side. He's still an attacking asset and he's a defensive asset from that side. But it allows you to pack that midfield just that little bit more and try to deal with some of the in-behind runs that you're going to get from midfield that you're undoubtedly going to get. Now, why Garnacho for the star player? Well, I think his counter-attacking threat is so strong. He is extremely direct. I thought he was poor, and I thought his decision-making was poor, but you get inconsistency with young players. So being so poor against Forest, I think it goes the other way, and I think he becomes a massive threat against that right-hand channel where City get exposed. He is probably our best forward at running in behind. Therefore, he will be our biggest asset when we're trying to run in behind. And with it being a Manchester derby this weekend, our friends at Parimatch are going to be offering new customers a very special offer. So, brace yourselves for an adrenaline-packed experience. They are offering new customers an exclusive deal that is too good to miss. For this, right? £30 in free bets, yours for the taking if you just place a £5 bet on the Manchester derby. And all you've got to do is this. Create your Parimatch account, opt into the promotion, make your first deposit, whether by card or Apple Pay or whatever, and then put a £5 bet on the Manchester derby, odds of evens or above. That's it. And like I said, it's an exclusive offer for those of you that are 18 or above that reside in the UK. Don't miss out on the action-packed adventure waiting for you and this mega offer that Parimatch are offering. Full terms and conditions apply, and the links that you need will be in the description below. As always, a massive thank you to Parimatch UK for sponsoring these videos. How do you beat this City team? Well, it's going to be hard, isn't it? The obvious one is try and stop Haaland and try and stop the supply from Kevin De Bruyne. That's a lot easier said than done. I think you counter-attack in their right back, right centre-back area, our left wing, whether it's Garnacho or Rashford that ends up playing there. That is probably the main weakness. Of all their designated defensive kind of positioning, that's the one that seems to have a lot of space. So, for example, if you see the way Zinchenko inverts into midfield from his left-back position, that creates space at left-back that Arsenal do get caught in sometimes. If the team are able to slow down the speed of transition, he can get himself back there. But if you can get hold of the ball and get it quickly, the same applies down City's right-hand side. If John Stones or any other player that is inverting backwards and forwards from that wide channel to that sort of right kind of half space, that player has to travel a fair long distance. It's not just about getting back, it's about getting back and getting over as well. And, they struggle doing that. They really struggle doing that. And that's why when they get caught out, this is where they get caught out. And again, they don't get caught out loads, but that is one of the ones. And it's the same time, when players are switching positions and zones, the responsibility for who's marking who's picking up this run, those things get a little bit confused if they're not efficiently passed on. It requires a lot more mental capacity from the players and their ability to keep tabs on what I'm looking after here and what I'll be looking after here if we lose the ball. And having multiple areas that you have to cover makes it hard for them. So if you can exploit that by quickly moving the ball into that sort of dangerous area and then making it a foot race for a player that might not be in the perfect position on the transition, any hesitation or doubt, that area is going to be open to be attacked. Secondary to that, mid-block and press your zones. I don't think United have got the personnel to man-mark City, go 1v1 with them and press them high. I don't think we've got the personnel for that. I don't think we've got the structure for that. I also don't think we can sit in a low block and soak up pressure for hours and hours because we're not practiced at that and actually don't know if we've got the personnel available to us to succeed in doing that. Which leaves you one more option, and that's to be a bit of a mid-block. So that's trying to get your line as high as possible, but also drop off and don't press the centre-halves, leaving gaps into midfield. So you deny the options of balls into midfield. You have a very, very compressed team front to back. You're talking 20 metres or so from your centre-halves to your centre-forward, probably 4-4-2 or 4-1-4-1, sort of off the ball shape. And you're looking to deny space. And then as the ball comes into that space, let the centre-halves have it, right? Almost want to force them to go over the top and we'll chase it back. You want to just compress that space in there nice. And then stop the easy balls going into midfield. Be narrow, be compact, and basically marshal the zones of the pitch that City want to play through, whilst picking up moments to maybe decide that there's some pressing triggers that you always want to have as universal truths. It might be a particular player. It might be if this player receives it with the wrong foot, if this player receives it with his back to goal, if this player has a bit of a heavy touch, get on him, keep the pressure on him and see if you can get the ball off him when he's had that heavy touch. If there's a flat pass, there's a few truths where you want to try and press. There's a few instances where you go, these are the circumstances we'll press. Otherwise, we'll try and keep it nice and locked down. But the key is not to defend too deep. Don't get into the box. Keep that distance outside of the box, but high enough that if you recover the ball, you've not got to beat their entire team in transition. So you want them to have a fairly high line as well. So when you do get the ball, you can get it in behind nice and quick. But also you don't want to be sat inside your own box. So a mid-block is what it is. You don't want to be too passive defensively, but you also don't want to be trying to chase everything down all on the edge of their box either, because the space that the likes of Haaland will exploit in behind will be a long day for us. Anyway, I'm an optimist, ultimately. That's why I play the Euro Millions. Can we do it? Yeah. Will we do it? Probably not. I'm hoping for the best, but I'm fearing the worst. Give us your score predictions in the comments, and I'll see you on Sunday. Hey, thank you for watching the video. If you are new around these parts, then don't forget to subscribe. My channel is proudly supported by my community on Patreon. If you'd like to get a little bit of extra content, a Discord group, meetups, five-a-side games, weekly podcasts, behind the scenes, and even an occasional bit of transfer news as and when I get it, then for the price of a pint, you can show your appreciation for the content that we make and get some goodies for doing so as well. Check the link in the description or click the button right here. You'll also find all of my socials here too if you want to follow me on any of those platforms. Nice one.